Call to order the regular meeting for the Tonganoxie USD 464 Board of Education for Monday, February 10th, 2025. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. No changes to the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I move that we approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
I second it.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Item 1.4, presentation of the calendar committee.
Good evening. Janet and I represent the Calendar Committee. We're an advisory group established under the Master Employment Manual for Certified Employees, more commonly known as a negotiated agreement. Our purpose is to develop a school year calendar for the Board of Education's consideration. Throughout the school year, the committee met multiple times to create 4 draft calendars and 2 reserve alternate calendars. Staff feedback was gathered through a survey to help guide our recommendations. Based on the survey results, the Calendar Committee recommends that the Board of Education approve Draft W for the 2025-2026 school year. This version includes 2 additional student contact days as requested by the board. These additional days are achieved by adding a new student and teacher contact day on January 6th and converting a professional development day into a student contact day on March 13th. However, if the Tonganoxie Education Association does not approve the additional contact days during negotiations this summer, we request that the board also approve Reserve Alternate Calendar A. This version removes the additional contact days, making it nearly identical to the 2024-2025 calendar. In conclusion, we recommend the board approve Draft W for the 2025-2026 school year and a reserve alternate calendar A as a contingency if the additional student contact days are not approved. And thank you, Tanya, for your help on that.
Okay, just for clarification for the board, so W, is everybody on board with which one is W?
It looks like it's the one that's in the more standard format, the first one listed in the...
Correct?
Yep.
I just want to make sure, and then the reserve is the one that says draft A.
Okay. So we feel fairly comfortable that if we had to revert to draft A, it's not terribly disruptive in any way.
No, I don't believe so, because the only 2 days that would change would be that January 6th and the March 13th, which are both in the second semester, so it would not affect first semester at all.
What is I understand that if this summer when they have negotiations that it might have to change, but why would we not approve, I guess, the initial one that they selected and then later approve if negotiations don't go the way that we hope they go, I guess, then why wouldn't we then vote to have the alternate? Why would we do both today?
I think it's just timing, just to have that in your hip pocket so that when we make plans for whatever we're doing going into summer for people to make their plans for vacations or whatever else, because it really doesn't affect anything, like you said, so much first semester. It's mostly second semester changes. I think am I about right? It's just to have it there at our disposal, and then we will use it probably during negotiations. Also, both sets. So, I hope that answers your question. But
It's really so we don't have to call a special board meeting if something were to happen in negotiations and we didn't agree to add those days, that we wouldn't have to bring you guys together and just immediately have a vote on a calendar.
Well, I think since we already know what the second possibility would be, I would like it to be that we vote on one, and then moving forward, if we had to change it, it's not a huge change. It looks like just a couple days where one's moving from a PD day to a contact day and the other one is adding a day. It's not a huge change. So maybe voting on the change if we had to at that time.
So you're supporting the W?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think the calendar's great. I just would like, I guess I'm unclear as to the purpose of two of them at this time, where it's kind of like putting the cart before the horse a little bit in my mind. So maybe you're just voting on what the best calendar choice that we have right now, and if things had to change, then we could make that change when that happens.
Okay.
Which one do you support?
Well, we probably ought to hit that during the action item session, and someone could make a motion either way. I don't know that I have a strong opinion either way, but either way makes sense to me. But
Okay.
other questions?
Appreciate the work that the calendar committee did.
I mean, the fact that we're looking at draft W, clearly a lot of work went into that, so thank you.
There were so many A's and B's, we had to just check that and go to the end of the alphabet.
W for
So
Mary.
it wasn't necessarily the 22nd.
No, it was not.
Well, I still appreciate that. Okay, thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to presentation 1.5, Sean Gordon, Gordon CPA.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you.
I don't want any more.
My name is Sean Gordon with Gordon CPA. We performed the 2023 fiscal year 23 audit of the school district, so I'll go through that bound copy that I just handed you. We'll start with pages 1 through 3. This is called the Independent Auditor's Report. Here we discuss a variety of things, including the opinion we issued the district's financial statements for fiscal year 23, management and the board's responsibilities for the district's financial statements, and then a few more of our responsibilities listed below as the auditor. The most important paragraph here is the third paragraph down on page 1. You'll see an italicized heading called Unmodified Opinion on the Regulatory Basis of Accounting. Here in this paragraph, we pretty much say that we've issued the district's financial statements for the year ended June 30th, 2023, the highest and cleanest opinion that we can issue under state and federal guidance and guidelines. So that reflects very well on the financial and internal control management by district staff during the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2023. The next kind of big section forward starts on page 4, and this is called the Summary Statement of Receipts, Expenditures, and Unencumbered Cash. Here you'll see in the left-hand column all of the different funds that the district has, followed by beginning cash, receipts, expenditures, and ending cash for each of those funds. You'll see at the very bottom of that right-hand column, the district is reporting just slightly over $22 million of cash on hand at June 30th, 2023. The next section forward starts on page 5 and runs through page 11. These are the notes to the financial statements. Here we discuss a variety of things, including different accounting policies that the district follows. There's also information on deposits and investments of the district, information on the CAPERS retirement program, long-term debt information, budgeted transfers that were made. Like I said, quite a bit of information discussed in this section. This section is mostly the same as what some of you have seen over the past few years. There were no changes required by the state. No major changes required by the state in this section for fiscal year 23. The next kind of big section forward starts on page 12 and runs through page 37. And these are just more detailed breakouts of those funds that we saw previously on page 4. On these funds, for example, on page 13, the general fund, we break out the different types of revenues, receipts, and expenses that take place in each of those funds. We also do a comparison to the budget that was adopted for fiscal year 23 for those funds. That way you can see how a fund operated against the budget for this year end. And then the final section in your bound copy starts on page 38 and runs through page 47. This is called the Federal Governmental Audit section. Anytime an entity receives and spends $750,000 or more of federal grant money, it's required to undergo a federal single audit. For fiscal year 23, we focused on the child nutrition cluster grants that are received in the food service fund. For this, we're required to check and make sure that the district followed federal, state, local guidelines regarding that grant and grant management process. And for this, we've also issued an unmodified opinion, which again is the highest and cleanest opinion that we can issue, and that means that the district met or exceeded all of those guidelines that I mentioned earlier. And then we had one auditor's recommendation, kind of note, just for the board to be aware of, and it had to do with the cash balance in the food service fund. It's a little high compared to what KSDE recommends, and we've seen that for some local school districts. So nothing new or shocking there. And the recommendation is just kind of work that food service cash balance down during fiscal year 24 and moving forward to 25. The last thing I wanted to recommend to discuss is that we had a good audit with Rebecca and her staff and everybody else involved in the audit process, so we do appreciate that. And then just a small update on fiscal year 24's audit. We are getting close to completing that, so we should have that completed document to everybody soon. With that, any questions for me on the audit process or our audit report?
I know that one of the, so no questions on what you presented, thank you.
Okay.
I know one of the issues, there had been kind of this ongoing,
Well, how would you describe it, Rebecca? The issue that we had, right?
I believe we have that figured out now. We have it figured out for 23. We made a small adjustment that Rebecca will need to make for fiscal year 24 once we get that finalized. But I think moving forward, I don't think we'll see that issue anymore.
is there any Cliff's Notes around that issue? Is it a,
It had to do with some insurance withholding, I believe, and you had made some changes with the other accountant that had helped with that. So I think it was just the way some health insurance items were being withheld and then reported in the accounting system.
Good, good.
questions? Thank you.
Okay, thank
I
you.
will tell you, we appreciate, how quickly you worked with Rebecca and the staff, and then moving on to the, the 23, 24 is huge, for us to get that completed in the
Yes.
next month or so.
Correct.
You'll be back soon
Yes.
and having another report.
Okay, very good.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, presentation 1.6, Mr. Loomis.
I'm going to connect and just kind of show this document that I think Lauren sent you guys this afternoon. Just a couple of quick updates. I know we haven't, I feel like I've been up here in a while, so. But a couple of quick updates. Project-wise, we are off and going with our two major projects we've already approved. The HVAC at TMS, all the units have been ordered. They're starting to arrive, and we are scheduled to start that just as soon as possible. The same thing with the re-roofing of TMS. And the next phase for both of those projects is actually just to get those two contractors together for us to all sit down and kind of work out what we think our summer schedule is going to look like. So pretty much all good on that front. Multi-purpose field and track. We have got some financial design, civil engineer numbers from an architect, and we're kind of waiting on another design option from a couple of our turf providers. So I'm hoping I have a lot more to update on that project in March. And kind of just moving into what's going on right now. So we emailed today. Nothing I'm showing you today is on action item for this evening. This is all just informational Q&A for you guys to have on a couple of things that we are looking to do. The first one we sent you is just the purchase of a couple new mowers. Nothing crazy on that. The last time we bought mowers was 2019, so we've certainly got the use out of those things. We are looking to purchase 2 new mowers this year just to kind of enhance the fleet. I've gotten much better staffing now than I had 5 years ago. I've got some guys that can actually use them, and then obviously having two will prolong that. So what you see on this one is the recommendation to accept the bid from Heritage Tractor for $12,350 per mower. I reached out to a couple other manufacturers. We do government contract pricing on mowers, so it's very similar to buying a vehicle. We get a flat price from whatever dealer we buy it from for that brand. So I did reach out to a couple other ones, and I was a little bit floored that John Deere was the cheapest one, and it's the same one we've had, just a newer model of it, and it's served us very, very well. So that's my recommendation, less the trade-in value of the old mower. The total on that will be $21,800. Plan going forward would be probably in about 3 to 4 years to start cycling those things out on a one-for-one basis. So we trade one in, get a newer one, keep another one for another couple of years, and so this would kind of be the jumping off point to that. I know we talked about this about 5 years ago, but just a kind of an update on that, and I believe that'll be an action item for the special board meeting on Monday the 17th. Now to everybody's favorite. Elementary HVAC updates. We had some issues with the latest cold spell that we had there about the third week of January. We are seeing this moreover when we get extreme hot or extreme cold. And what I'm saying by that is when we are down under 10 degrees or we're up in the upper 90s or over 100, I feel like this month every year we routinely see some major failure from our VRFs. I mentioned at the last board meeting, or the last time we talked about this, that we are out of warranty with Trane, all things together. So we have kind of eclipsed that 10-year window from when these things were installed. So there was a point in time where Trane was actually extending our warranty on parts. We are out of that warranty now. So what that means is a lot of those repairs that were probably somewhere in the ballpark of $8,000 to $12,000 that you probably saw but didn't think a whole lot about are now going to start creeping up on the $18,000 to $25,000 range. We did have VRF6 and VRF7, which is the 4th grade pod, downstairs middle, 2nd grade pod, upstairs top. It's with a quote to repair those units, and you can kind of see the two numbers we're talking about are right here for a total of a $42,000, $685 repair. The compressors on this repair are backed with a 5-year warranty, again, very similar to the repiping we talked about last time. I don't really have I'm extremely frustrated with this process right now, and I wish I had a better solution for you, but I do feel like we don't really have a choice in these matters right now if we're going to continue to try to provide a space that is comfortable, not only if we get another cold snap, but if we start working into April and May and we start to see some warm weather, this will show up. So same type of deal. This is for you to look over. I have Trane working through some information for us right now that I hopefully can answer some questions that I think you guys are going to have. But this again will be an action item for the February 17th special board meeting to try to, same thing we've been doing with a lot of this, is just get this approved and get the work done so we can continue to move forward. Long term, I think we are really starting to aggressively approach what our long-term plan is going to be. There's been some changeover with our folks at Trane, so we're working with that right now, and that's a little frustrating on my end, but we have new sales representation there, and so he's trying to get up to speed on everything up to this point. I'm trying to get him up to speed as we work through the 10-year headache that we've had with this system. So again, both of these things you guys should have. They will be February 17th, next Monday, action items. There's nothing on them tonight. We just want to get the information to you and hopefully answer whatever questions you guys might have as we handle this going forward. So,
And I think you mentioned that we're meeting not next week, is it next?
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
you're going to be gone next
Yeah.
week, but the week after, we're meeting with the new Trane rep. Try to get him, once again, more up to speed on our process and what our long-term goal is. I think the board would like to have more information on what our overall plan is moving forward, and I think that's where we're headed.
Yeah, I think I certainly feel your frustration. I think we're somewhat between a rock and a hard place in terms of these repairs to be able to provide the, you know, the quality learning environment that we all know we need and want. At the same time, it feels like we're throwing good money after bad a little bit, and I know you're feeling all that, and I don't think there's anything that I would have expected you to do differently.
Certainly.
But I did talk with Mr. Grattan today. He sends his regrets, by the way, but I think we ought to get a little subcommittee to help and
Yeah.
be able to just make the rest of the board feel comfortable that, because it's, yeah,
So-
and I'm not throwing.
No,
shady,
and
it's just,
my hope is, so, I had a pretty direct conversation today with Train for about half an hour, just kind of expressing, our frustrations, and not necessarily with anything they've done. I think we just are all feeling the same thing. And so we are gonna set up a meeting here for 2 weeks, where possibly a subcommittee, that would be an ideal time, and Lauren and I are kind of, we'll try to pin down some dates and then try to get some information, not only how we're going to attack what's happening now, but then really trying to gear up for what the long-term fix is going to be, whether that be replacement. Obviously, we approved the repiping. Like I said, I would not be comfortable telling you one way or another how I feel like that goes until we hit some pretty extreme temperatures again, one way or the other, hot or cold. So I feel like that we're probably not going to have a great answer on that until maybe July, and that's,
when are they gonna try to do that work?
they were supposed to be starting on it today or tomorrow, so it's supposed to be on a go. Yeah, so I think once that gets done, I think we'll have a decent idea of what's going on. But at the same time, again, there is a part of me that just feels like every time we hit one of these really bad spells that we just get put in a tough spot. So I would need to see it perform through extreme heat before we said, okay. And some of the information we've requested, very similar to what we did on VRF3, I asked for the update on kind of what we've spent, how much we've spent on these particular systems. So we are cognizant of what our problem childs are, and then if we did feel like the repipe could work, then we would push that to the next one, because again, that's going to come at a cost. If we don't feel like the repipe works, my next step is going to be to engage both Train and maybe some other contractors about what that split system install actually looks like, and kind of ramp that up. So it's almost at the ready for us, I guess, for lack of a better term. I don't think that's a super invasive process, but it obviously will take some time, and but potentially something that could be done this summer if we really felt like it. Or,
Do you
but
think-
again, we're just gathering info.
We don't need to solution it here necessarily, but do you think there's a scenario where between the mini split solution with some sort of temporary heat and cooling, we could just start ripping the Band-Aids off and doing them?
There probably is. I would have to. That's a great question, and one I can probably dive into a little bit. I would need to get a little more versed on the temporary heat and cooling and just see what options we have. We have some things in there now. They don't strike me as long term or anything we'd want around the learning environment. We're dealing. The size of the school is obviously a huge piece to that, and having 9 classrooms in each pod presents some challenges with that. But I do think it's probably something that somebody could tell me a little more on, and I can definitely ask, because that would kind of be where I'm at. If we find out that a split system could be installed in 4 to 6 weeks, well, okay, can we do that in September and early October, and then just have some fail safes that are ready? So this last week has certainly engaged to ramp up a little bit how we're handling this and how we're attacking this, because like I said, we come up here and we ask for $42,000 of I'll be happy to go out there in a second, guys. But asking for $42,000 here tonight doesn't sit well with me. I'm sure it doesn't sit well with you, and it shouldn't really sit well with anybody. But at the same time, I think it's just where we're at right now, and I guess just to know that we're working on the back end of how we can fix that. So. But your information for next Monday. So like I said, digest it. Feel free to email with me with any questions. As Train gets me information, I will pass it on to Lauren, and that way he can pass it on to you. And like I said, if there's any questions email Lauren, email me, and I will try to answer them the best I can.
I have some thoughts too in terms of the way we may consider some of the negotiation too, and I can share those as well, but,
Yep.
are there any questions?
I think it would be beneficial too to see, like, we have made some investments the last couple months and we have 5-year warranties on
Right.
a few things. So kind of mapping out what that,
So one thing that,
Looks
that we
like.
talked about today, that Train is going to do for us is provide a, basically an asset management sheet for us and take, once we complete this middle school roof project, Train is going to own about 90% of the HVAC systems in our district. So they're going to create an asset management sheet that basically has every piece of equipment we have, what we've done with it, where it's at timeline wise, their kind of recommendation for longevity of it, and almost just as a rolling document that we can just keep at the ready to be able to answer those questions. Because that's what I keep going back to with them is, okay, well, where have we been with this? They have all the information, so they're going to try to put it together for us in a manner that we could just pull up in a setting like this and say, okay, hey, this is the problem. Here's where we've been with it. Here's how long they think it has left, et cetera. So.
Other questions? We share your frustration, but it's not directed at you, it's
No,
just
I
directed towards
completely
the
understand.
situation, so.
Completely understand. So,
Okay,
thank you guys.
thank you, sir. All right, moving on to the consent agenda, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second it.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. No patron comments. Mr. Feldkamp.
Yes, and I have a list here, and I also sent you a lot of information over the last couple of days, just some updates that I hope you had a chance to review, just trying to get ready for tonight and for what's going to be coming down the pike at the February 17th meeting, and Tanya's going to come back to that here in just a minute. Just a couple of things. In the PD room will be used starting on February 16th by the United Methodist Church. We're had some meetings with Pastor Wilkie. We also are working on having one of our employees on hand to help with custodial services during that 3-hour stretch for the next several weeks. So it's been good communication, and I think we're working towards a good process. I think everybody's on the same page is kind of my whole message here. I feel good about it. Mitch talked about the lawn mowing equipment. We did send out some information on the mid-year budget review with Randy and Rebecca. They did a really nice job. We met following when they analyzed the budget. I did send out just a summary today for everybody for their review. That was just the start. I mean, that is where we're starting. Each month now, we will do that same process just to track our spending. Honestly, it's what will change are those unexpected costs that come up between now and the end of June. Our payroll is pretty consistent. That isn't going to change very much at all. It's all those other incidental things that come up that we're tracking. And then what purchases we make going into next year, because you remember a lot of times we would purchase equipment for the teachers, in April for the next school year, and that's how we've been doing it in the past. So we'll be taking a hard look at all our spending is, I guess, my whole point. And it looks positive from our perspective, but we want to continue down that path. We have been having some Leavenworth County Superintendent meetings up in Leavenworth. A lot of that is just trying to meet with our local legislators and state school board members, and so far we're getting a pretty good response on that kind of a meeting, and we want to continue those meetings, just that dialogue. Superintendent at Leavenworth helps set that up, and we host that up in their district office. I also was involved in the Leavenworth County engagement session with the Zoom meeting, which was about what Leavenworth County offers, what are the good things about Leavenworth County, what can we do to help with the growth in Leavenworth, but not just housing, but businesses, those kinds of things. It was very informative. We had several people from Tonganoxie that were on that Zoom meeting participating. It was actually countywide. You did see the news about transportation. We're making great progress. Jill has been working hard at recruiting, training, and getting those people on board. And starting next Tuesday, I think, right? Next
Monday.
Tuesday. Well, Monday we don't have school,
That's right.
unless you want to. So next Tuesday, we will be eliminating A and B routes for the first time in almost 2 years, which is, I think, good news because it shows progress, what we're doing. And I think that's a real plus.
Have we communicated that yet?
I think they were going to do it this week only because they want to make sure that nobody backed out at the last minute like we had right the first week of school. I mean, she feels pretty good about it, but she's a little gun shy.
I get that. I would definitely err on the side of,
Cautious.
well,
Yeah, that's-
but people are gonna have to change their plans on
Yeah.
Tuesday, so
I think that's probably, we'll talk tomorrow. I think it'd be a good time to, because just knowing the weather that's headed down the road here.
I mean, you're right to be cautious, but that'll impact a lot of families. I think we need to get that out, probably tomorrow.
And Jill is, this is, maybe you haven't seen this, but Jill is filling out the clean fuel grants. We got it 2 years ago. We didn't get it last year, but this is one of those grants. It's worth about $25,000, but you don't keep the bus that you put in the grant. I mean, that's the one where they come and actually get and decommission. It's not a trade-in, and so it's a federal type grant if it still exists, but we're going to find out. So she's actually writing 2 grants, which if we get both of them, you don't have to take both of them. You can take one. So she's done a good job with that. Like I said, 2 years ago, we did get that. Forrest is going to be visiting with you about the district-wide phone system. We have started that internal process of the phones basically they're out of, the technology is outreach their performance. I mean, are they working okay? Yes, but you can't even get parts for them now. So he'll talk to us probably next month or March. I'm not sure if Forrest was going
Might
to.
be April.
April, but he's going to bring in some different options of kind of we could purchase them all and own them, or you could work through a monthly plan, and I think that's where he's leaning. It seems more cost effective, but he'll talk about that. And then we are having a special board meeting on the 17th, and I'll let Tanya kind of visit about how that might look. It's that data plan that that we're going to present here pretty quick. And I think that's most all of it, unless you have any questions about anything that I sent out today. And we're going to meet here a little bit about the evaluations. So, okay.
Any questions for Lauren? Tanya?
All right. The first thing on my report is the calendar. So if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer those since our calendar committee folks had to leave. The next thing I have on there is the KG facility use rules. So a few months ago, we updated all of our board policy. It's all updated and accessible online now. And included with that is a menu, a template, a bunch of templates for us of forms that KASB has verified compared to the policy that you have. And all you do if you want to use those forms and templates is you take them and then you adapt it to your district. So we have used that. We've drawn down the KG facility use rules. We've adapted it to our district and how we do things here. We've added our information as the fees we want to charge. We sent that document back to KASB to preview to make sure that everything was still good with board policy, and they have said yes. So what they wanted you to do tonight is to take a look at that updated document, make sure that you are all good with that, and once we have your approval, then we'll send the updated document back to KASB, and they will make it as part of our online board policy and documents.
What I would like to add there is we had, let's see, Hayes, Josie, Cody, you, Mitch. We've talked to Brad Eccles because they are also not, I mean, they're not involved in this per se, but they are also involved in some of the rental for the facility. And we had very, very good discussion, with everybody involved. We made adjustments so we just didn't keep it status quo. So there were several changes, updates, some increases in rental fees, and so a lot of discussion about what that should look like. I was very pleased with the whole process, and I think we're in a good spot.
Well, and it hadn't been updated
Yeah.
since 2013,
Yeah.
so it was time.
It was updated. So I would endorse or recommend the approval as presented, so when we get there.
And then beyond that, we will meet actually tomorrow. We have an online system for reserving rooms within the district now, but as part of this, adopting this new facility use rules and all the fees and everything that goes with it, we're going to use the online system we currently have for these outside groups who are wishing to rent our facilities. So we have a meeting to go through that tomorrow, make sure it's set up to our specifications, and then once we're ready to go live with that and everything's approved here, we will go forward with it. Forest has used that, gosh, we've used it I think a couple years now. So anytime anyone wants to use, say, the PD room or a conference room here or some rooms within the buildings, they go through this process in district. And so we'll be setting it up to make sure that those folks outside the district can reserve rooms in the same manner. And it's worked really well.
Does that route through to different points of contact depending on the building?
Yes. And it's a pretty intuitive system. So if I wanted to reserve the PD room and I log into the system and then I put in my parameters, like my dates and times, if that room is already reserved, it does not pop up as a choice. So you can't double book things. So we set the parameters inside, like the time factors, size. So if I had a group of 300 people and I was trying to get the PD room, it wouldn't let me, that'd be too many. And then there's the calendar. You can just at a glance take a look at it to see what's going on in the whole district and all of those spaces.
Gotcha. That'd be nice to have.
It's a big improvement.
It is. It's huge. Part of the online system, though, we have it working really well with our staff, the ones who we've signed in to use it, but it's a little more difficult to have folks outside the district give them access and a login. So we're developing this system to put into place where they fill out the Google form, then we take that and enter it, and so we have all the contact information and all the specifications in that form, so they don't have to have a specific login to the new system.
Okay.
But more to come on that. And then also in my report, I included Tanya's topics, the January edition of that. So if you had any questions.
I have a quick question on that. So you talked about the accreditation being yearly in the 3 different areas.
Yes.
You mentioned a school improvement day. It has to have district's full participation in a school improvement day.
Uh-huh.
What is that? What will that look like?
That's a good question.
Will that
It is-
start, because it says every February, does that start this February, or is that
Yes.
something that starts next February?
Yes, it's brand new this year. We started the process of moving to this new system last year. So last year, if you remember, I talked about Jean Rush. She is our KSDE person who comes to visit us. She came to visit us in January of last year and started talking about moving to this system. So she came again this year in January, and we had a meeting with her to kind of prepare what that school improvement day would look like. So KSDE has it scheduled out for every district who's accredited in Kansas, and those private schools who are a part of the accreditation system too. They assign you specific days with like districts. So we have been assigned the day February 25th, and so we'll be going to Greenbush in Lawrence to meet with our systems. We will meet with, it'll be us, Atchison, Wamego, and Eudora, and they are our like systems. So we bring our team in. We have administrators, some teachers, superintendent,
Brandy.
assistant, Brandy, basically our core district team, and then they have different activities that we will do to identify some areas of improvement. We work with these other districts and get their feedback. We give them feedback, and then based on what we do that day, then we have 60 days to fill out our form, our action plan. And once we submit that and that's approved, then we move forward and we continue to monitor. So come next year, we will report on all of the things that we said in our action plan we would do. And then we adapt and go forward. So this will be a yearly thing. Every mid-February or late February, we'll be assigned our day to go and meet with these same districts and with KSDE folks. It's a pretty good process. I'm enjoying it a lot more than just the prepare 5 years and then dog and pony show. Yeah, it seems to be a lot more actionable, and where we look at things and measure them every year makes more sense to me than building to the 5 years, and your plan at the end of 5 years is not the same plan you started out with.
And what are some of the things that you would be looking at to measure? Like, obviously academic, but what specific areas within that, or?
Well, a lot of that, we did a lot of the groundwork when we went through our strategic plan process. And so when we met with Jean Rush, our KSDE rep, she told us that was a lot of the prep work that we would have had to do initially. So we've got that piece of it done already. There are different areas that you're accredited on. So one of those is compliance. And basically that's all of the reports and things that we do every year. That's kind of an automatic check mark. Whether we do them, we submit them on time. And as a district, we're never out of compliance in any of those areas. So we always do what we need to do. School improvement pieces, which would be those goals that we set for ourselves. So it could be anything from raising your English and math scores. It could be improving attendance, graduation rate. So there'll be different things that we identify based on, our needs assessment here. And then the last thing would be outcomes. So all your state assessment scores, post-secondary effectiveness, your graduation and dropout rates. So all of that goes together into one kind of package to determine your accreditation.
So on that day, say your goal is to improve reading and math scores by 2%. Are you going to then talk about actionable things that you could take back, like with the other schools, that you would take back and look at implementing?
That's
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay.
Sharing, what success or frustrations they might have, strategies.
And then what if those schools don't have a thought or an idea for you? Then where do you go from there?
Well, then they'll learn from us, we hope. But that's kind of the plan. I think KSD's done a really nice job meeting with Atchison, Eudora, Wamego, and us, and to make sure that we're all on a similar page. And I kind of think we will be. I anticipate it being pretty equal, as far as all 4 school districts. I think they know which school districts might need, more assistance. But
they have the day pretty well planned out.
Yeah,
They have
it's
different
a full
activities
day
that they'll put us through that will lead to a lot of that discussion. And then we have our designated time where we work on things, and then they come and assist us and make sure we're on the right track. And then we'll submit our plan within 60 days after that. We haven't been through the day yet, but I'm hearing really good things about the days that the other districts have been through.
I think KC's putting a lot more effort into helping us know what we need to accomplish on that day. We're not going in blind.
Okay.
Doesn't feel that way at all.
No.
Okay.
It's been good.
All right.
And then we talked, you think you'll have the slides and agenda for next Monday out tomorrow?
We should. Brandy was home with a sick child today, so we just want to double check that again, make sure everything is as it needs to be when she gets back, and we'll send that out hopefully tomorrow.
Okay. All right, so moving into the action items, action item 5.1, approval of additional bills. I would make a motion that we approve action item 5.1 as presented. Is there a second?
A second.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Item number 5.2, approval of proposed 2025-2026 school calendar. Sounded like there was some discussion about whether we wanted to approve both or just the option one. Open the floor for discussion.
My thought process is that, I guess to me, why would you go in with a backup plan if you, in good faith, are negotiating? Like, I truly appreciate the fact that they have a plan B, because that's a lot easier for us to meet and decide that, rather than them to have another survey and have a calendar committee meeting. But I feel like at this time we should kind of move forward with their top plan, as we hope that it is going to be able to be put into use, I guess, once the negotiations are over. If it doesn't work out that way, then, I mean, I would be happy to meet again to reevaluate that. But
And I think that could even be a pretty quick virtual meeting as well.
Right.
So,
That's fine.
is there a motion on the action item 5.2?
I move that we approve the calendar, is it W, at this time, and look at a future to discuss it, the other one if necessary.
Is there a second?
I second it.
So moved and seconded. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Action item 5.3, board policy KG, which is our facility use language and forms. Usually these are very straightforward. I think this one's pretty straightforward, but it certainly has a lot of public visibility. Is there any discussion around what was presented for action item 5.3? Okay, I would move that we approve item 5.3 as presented, approval of updated board policy KG, facility use language and forms. Is there a second?
I second it.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. All right, action item 5.4 is the approval of a proclamation of March as Youth Art Month. I would move that we approve action item 5.4 as presented. Is there a second?
I second it.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Do I need to read that?
It's up to you.
I think you can maybe, I don't know if you, I think that area right in the, maybe that one right in the middle, one of the most important skills.
The other document
Okay,
is,
let's go. There might
is the
be,
proclamation. It's shorter
Okay.
than last
Okay.
year.
Whereas art education is a viable academic endeavor and contributes educational benefits to all elementary and secondary students, including the following. Art education develops students' creative problem-solving and critical thinking abilities. Art teaches sensitivity to beauty, order, and other expressive qualities. Art gives students a deeper understanding of multicultural values and beliefs. Art reinforces and brings to life what students learn in other subjects. Art interrelates student learning in art production, art history, art criticism, and aesthetics. And whereas our national leaders have acknowledged the necessity of including arts experiences in all students' education, whereas March is officially recognized as Youth Art Month, I endorse the observance of Youth Art Month and encourage the support of quality school art programs for youth.
good,
Okay,
perfect.
I went to a state school and I got most of those words right. All right, I would move that we adjourn to executive session to discuss non-elected personnel matters. 5 minutes for recess and 20 minutes to discuss non-elected personnel matters. Is there a second?
I second.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. All right, in recess. All right, call the meeting back to order. We have one potential action item coming out of executive session. I would move that we add 1 year to extend the contracts for the following administrators: Cody Witt, Kelly Hoops, Josie Eastis, Casey Brown, Hayes Farwell, Callista Blazo, Matt Bowers, Shannon Harrelson, Tanya Phillips, and Lauren Feldkamp. Is there a second?
I second.
Second.
We moved and seconded, and all those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Any general board discussion? All right, we're adjourned. Thank you.